Um, so hi everyone, welcome to the Home Inspection Tips webinar. And this webinar is organized by Eano and Inspectify. So let's get it started. So we have two speakers today. It's Jing from Eano Home Renovation. Say hi to everyone, Jing. Jing, you're on mute.
Yeah, I muted myself. Yeah, hi everyone.
So Jing is the project manager and GC at Eano. And we also have Josh here from Inspectify.
Hey everyone.
So Josh is the co-founder and CEO at Inspectify. And let's get the webinar started. So we're gonna have 20 to 30 minutes presentation to talk about the home inspection, what's included in the home inspection, how to read a report, how to hire an inspector, and some common questions. And we'll have the live Q&A session afterwards. And you may post your questions to the Q&A board at the bottom of your screen to post your questions, and we're gonna answer them live afterwards. So I'll make a brief introduction about Eano. So Eano stands for, if you don't know that yet, stands for Easy Affordable Renovations. And we are a VC-backed construction tech company. We're based in San Francisco. And we founded in 2019. We had about 100 projects, renovation projects. We fully completed 40 of them, and we have 9 ongoing ADU projects going on. If you want to learn more, please go to our website at eano.co. It's eano.co. So we offer turnkey solution, and here are some projects that we completed. We do bathroom, kitchen, ADU, and flooring, painting, renovations. So please go to our website if you want to get more information. Okay, now I'll give it to Josh.
Awesome, thanks Echo. So my name is Josh Jensen. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Inspectify. Inspectify is a managed marketplace for home inspections with the mission of simplifying the home buying experience. We also were founded in 2019 and have received over 1,600 inspection requests in 2020. And we've done inspections in over 15 states in the US. So we have pretty broad coverage. We predominantly work with real estate agents and brokerages, but we also work with a lot of home buyers directly that come to our website, but we have over 100 agents that work with us directly. And essentially what's unique about Inspectify is we're a tech platform for the inspection space. We allow consumers to be more proactive around inspections, understand what specific types of inspections they need. We have a managed marketplace that allows them to view options on inspectors instantly and can compare pricing, availability, and reviews in a matter of seconds. And then instead of getting a static PDF, we provide what we call our home platform that allows consumers to get a lot more insight around the results of the inspection, both in terms of repair estimates as well as severity of the issues found. But today I'm going to walk through just an overall high-level overview of what a home inspection is and what to expect from it. So if we go to the next slide. So what is a home inspection? So I actually stole the description directly from ASHI, which is the American Society of Home Inspections. And they describe it as a home inspection is an objective visual examination of the physical structure and systems of the house from the roof to the foundation. And this is a pretty solid synopsis of what an inspection is going to cover. Essentially, you're hiring a licensed professional to come into the home that you're looking to purchase, and basically check out everything from floor to ceiling within the entire house, and to do really 2 things. One, document the current make and structure of the home in terms of materials and build style, but more importantly, identify potential areas of risk in the home in what is typically called deficiencies. And this is your way to basically identify the areas that you may need to repair or maintain more strongly once you purchase the home. Typically, these home inspections are associated with a home transaction. And actually, in the U.S., about 90% of all home purchases include a home inspection. Predominantly, this is done on the buy side with the home buyer purchasing the inspection, but there are some markets like the Bay Area where sellers are doing the inspection before they put the house on the market. But it really just depends on the market. But for the most part, the buyers are handling it. In terms of what to expect when you go into the process, home inspection on average takes around 2.5 hours to complete. This is the amount of time it takes the licensed professional to go through everything in your home and document everything. That will vary based off the size of your home. If you're doing a 5,000 square foot house, it might be much longer, 4 or 5 hours, versus if you're doing, a 500 square foot condo, they might be able to get that done in under a couple hours, just obviously based off the size and how much time it takes. And then typically the output of that inspection is what is called a home inspection report, which comes in a myriad of different forms and is pretty inconsistent from inspector to inspector. It could be, a hand there are some software platforms that allow inspectors to create more pleasing reports as well. But it is pretty inconsistent, and we'll kind of walk through what you should expect from a report later in the presentation. And then finally, in terms of price, this also varies by house and geo. The average in the US is around $381. But in the Bay Area, for example, you should expect to spend $500 to $600 for home inspection, versus if you're buying a house in middle of Tennessee, it'll probably be under $300. So there is some variance based off the geo. And then obviously, just like how time can change, duration of the inspection, the price can change based off the size of the house as well. But with that, let's go to the next slide and I'll kind of walk through what is actually included in the home inspection. So from the description, as we mentioned, we cover everything from foundation to roof, but there's lots of different things that follow in that. And I'll kind of walk through each one and give a little bit overview of what that means and what the inspector is actually looking for. So if we start in the top left with the roof, obviously this is one of the more important parts of the home. This is covering the house itself, right? It's basically protecting it from moisture and sun damage. And if there's issues here, it can actually trickle down, pun intended, to the rest of the systems in the house. So if you have a failed roof, it could cause issues in the structure, in the interior, and all the major systems. So it's really important that your inspector spends a fair amount of time evaluating the roof to make sure there's no major issues there. Following from that, if you go down from the house, you've got the attic, the insulation, and the ventilation. And this is really the system between the roof and the ceiling in your house. And this component has really two functions. One, it acts as insulation between the outside elements and the interior of your house. So, if it's hot outside, it keeps your house cool. If it's cold outside, it keeps your house warm. And the idea here is it's a way to minimize your utility bills and ensure that your house is properly insulated. But with that, you have to have proper ventilation in the attic as well, right? So if you don't have proper airflow going to the attic, you can get mold and other major issues. So it's something else the inspector is going to check out when they're in the attic to make sure that it's insulated, but it also has decent ventilation. Moving down there, you've got the exterior, and this is really a catch-all for everything on the outside of the house. So this is your siding, it's the flashing, it's the perimeter around the foundation, everything to basically make up the outside walls of the house. The inspector is going to look for, just like the roofer, to look for potential moisture intrusion to make sure the house is properly sealed, and to look for any potential defects to make sure it's built to code. But this is really what protects your interior walls from the outside elements, is the exterior. And then finally, you get to the main structure and the foundation, so basement, foundation, and structure. And this encompasses a lot, and it can vary house to house, right? So some houses may be built on a slab, which is just a concrete pad, and the house is built from there. It could be built on a basement, so you actually have living space below the main level, or it could be built in a crawl space, which is similar to a basement, but is uninhabitable. It's usually 3 to 4 feet tall, and is there just for proper ventilation, just like the attic, but at the lower level. So the inspector is going to check to make sure that, one, the foundation doesn't have any major settling or cracking issues, but also going to make sure that it's built to code and there's no issues in the crawl space of the basement that might have occurred since the house has been built. Moving to the top, we've got obviously doors, windows, and interiors. So this make up everything to get into the house and see out of the house from the windows, but also all the walls and the cosmetics, the aesthetics inside of the house. So this is something where you'll probably, as a consumer, see more of, right? Because this is the space you're living in. But to be honest, this isn't where most of the issues are. Most of the issues are in the other systems, where the system, be it the roof, the attic, the basement, the cooling, the heating, the doors, windows, and interiors are typically more cosmetic issues, like blemishes in the wall or potentially glazed over windows, and typically aren't very costly. So it's kind of counterintuitive. You'd think that something you'd spend so much more time in would be where more issues are, but it's actually the opposite when you're looking at inspections. And then finally, the right-hand side is the systems that help support the house. So you've got cooling, heating, and fireplace that all make up the heating, ventilation, and cooling systems. So the inspector is going to check out to make sure that one, that the system actually has, that the house actually has those systems, right? Cooling and heating. But it's also going to make sure that it's properly sized for the house, right? So if you're buying a house in Southern California, obviously air conditioning is very important, and you want to make sure the house is actually equipped to handle the heat load from the sun in Southern California. Conversely, if you're living in Wisconsin and it's snows half the year, you want to make sure you have a proper heating system that can handle the cooling load needed for that house. So the inspector is going to check out all those systems. Fireplace is really, if the house has it, not all houses have a fireplace, but they're going to check to make sure that it's properly vented and it's in working condition. And then the final two systems are some of the more costly if there's issues, but also some of the more important ones that they want to check out. So your plumbing and your electrical, right? So plumbing includes both the supply lines that are coming in the house to provide water, as well as the drain and sewer lines that leave the house to get the water out of the house as well. So they're going to check to make sure that things are done to code, check for potential leaks that they can see, and inspectors have a multitude of tools they can use to do this, right? So it's very much a visual inspection. So if there's a leak inside a wall, it's really hard for them to see that. But a lot of inspectors will have moisture meters that will allow them to detect potential leaks in the wall, as well as telltale signs that there is a leak. So they might look for damage on the drywall that will tell them there's something going on the inside, and then validate that with the moisture meter. So even though a lot of these systems are in the wall, inspectors are able to detect if there's issues that need further evaluation. And then finally, electrical is, obviously the checking the supply lines coming in, checking that the house is properly grounded, has proper wiring, but also make sure, like, small things like devices, be your outlets, your switches, are GFCI rated if needed, but also again have proper grounding. So at a high level, that is what's all included in the inspection. As you can tell, it's a lot of information. And this is really one of the challenges of being a home inspector is, you're basically trying to be a master of all these different systems. And the reality is, and you'll see this as you go through the inspection process, a lot of times inspectors may recommend further experts to look into these systems. And the main reason for that is, a home inspector is very much a jack of all trades, but a master of none, in the sense that they know enough about all these systems. They can give you a snapshot of the health of your home, but if there's a very specific issue going on, they're probably going to recommend a specialist to come take a look at it, because they're not electricians, they're not plumbers, they're not foundation specialists. They are a generalist that is able to give you a snapshot of the overall health of the home. Cool. So this kind of segues into why should I get a home inspection, and why is it important? And I'll speak on the context of when you're purchasing a home. Some folks will do home inspections after they move into the home, but the reason why 90% of all real estate transactions have a home inspection associated with them is, one, it's by far your best opportunity to quantify the condition of the home that you're buying, right? So you can tour the house, you can look at the seller's disclosure. But this is your chance to have a snapshot in time on what the risk of the home is. And when you're spending $800,000 or more or less on a home, spending $300-400 to validate what potential issues are is a very, very strong ROI. in the sense that it can help you, prevent buying a house that may have a lot of issues, or at a bare minimum tell you, what the cost would be to get it into working condition. And now you can budget that within your home purchase. It's also really important in terms of negotiating. And I say this with an asterisk in the sense that you shouldn't be using the home inspection purely as a method to get the price down. That's actually very inefficient within the real estate transaction, but it is your opportunity to say if there are issues that come up that you weren't aware of when you were touring the house or that weren't disclosed by the seller. It's your opportunity to adjust for the work that you've got to put into the house to get it into working condition. So negotiations are great for, if there's a plumbing leak that wasn't disclosed, you can now, get a price reduction or have a credit to get that work done. It's not good if you go and you all of a sudden don't like the floors and you want the sellers to replace the floors. That's not the proper use of this negotiation. It's more about getting the house into working condition so you can move in. And then finally, and the one that most folks kind of overlap and is really kind of the mission of Inspectify is your opportunity to educate yourself on the home you're buying, right? Homes are, as you saw in the last slide, very complex assets. And as a homeowner, obviously there's a lot of service professionals that can help you maintain and manage and insure that home, but you have to understand specifically for your home what you should be doing on an annual basis to make sure that it stays in proper working condition. And the home inspection is the single most comprehensive data. So it's really important to understand the results and understand the makeup of your house. So when you move into the home, you can keep it in that working condition for the years to come. And it's something that is even if there's even if you don't have an inspection committee and you're not really doing negotiations, it's still really important because it helps you understand your home before you move in. Go to the next slide. Cool. So let's spend a little bit of time in terms of how to read an inspection report. And I will caveat to say that every single inspection report will look different, but they all follow a similar structure. What you're seeing here is actually what you'll get from Inspectify. So it's part of what we're trying to build is every single inspection report will look the same. So it's really easy from one house to another to compare. But what you'll see is inspectors will use different software and different templates. So everything will look slightly different, but at a high level, you have a summary section and you have a deficiency section. And the summary is going to give you an overview of like what the major issues are. And the deficiencies are going to be very granular on every specific thing that the inspector calls out. Some may not be a big issue at all, but they're going to call it out anyway, just to make sure that they, one, cover their butt from a liability perspective, but to make sure you know everything you can about the home. So if we think about how Inspectify presents it, we break down the issues into three categories. One being safety. So these are the things that you should focus most of your energy on when you're reading the report. These are things that could cause bodily harm to yourself or your family or your friends. And it's things that you should prioritize fixing probably before you even move into the house. An example of one of these may be a loose vent on a water heater, right? If it's a gas water heater that could emit carbon monoxide in the house, and obviously it's a major safety issue. So you want to get that addressed as soon as possible. Then we have the second bucket, which we call repairs. And these are things that if you don't fix, they're going to cause future damage and more issues in the home. So you're actually going to spend more money the longer you wait to fix this, right? So an example of this may be a small leak in your kitchen sink. In the grand scheme of things, it's a $100 fix to get a plumber in there to fix that. But if you wait months and years, it's going to cause water damage, potential mold, and that $100 fix might turn into a $1,000 fix. So we kind of bucket those into a repair column to say, look, this is something that maybe you don't fix me before you move in, but it's budget money in the first couple months that we live there to get these things addressed, just to save you money in the long run. And then finally, monitor items are more cosmetic, aesthetic issues. So if you have a scratch in the drywall or a ding in the drywall or a scuff in your baseboard, these are things that probably won't cost any more money the longer you wait. But they're things that you should be aware of. Is there a deficiency over what is expected for those materials? And what we like to see in our inspection reports is no safety issues, only a couple repair and a lot of monitor items. That's when you know that the house has been well kept. But if you see a lot of safety issues, it means that the maintenance has been deferred for a long time, and it's something you should be aware of. And then finally, deficiency level is going to go into those. If you have 3 safety items, into each specific one, what you should expect the issue to be, and what the description of the root cause is. This is where most inspection reports stop. is basically a list of issues. What Inspectify is trying to drive is we actually provide repair estimates on these as well. Because that's the big thing you're trying to quantify buying a home is what is it actually going to cost me to fix this. So, you know, a lot of times you would take your inspection report and go to a contractor and then they would give you a price because most inspectors don't provide pricing on the reports. So it's something else that you want to make sure you ask your inspector when you're going through this process and is what does a report look like? Make sure they share a sample beforehand, as that gives you a good idea of what you should expect once you do your inspection. Cool. So then finally, we'll kind of wrap up with next steps for home buyers. So a free tool that we provide to agents and buyers is our pre-inspect, and there's links to this in the deck. This is a free product that we offer that pulls building data, it pulls permit data, and allows you to identify areas and risk in the home before you even write an offer on it, right? So this is, think of this as a filtering process, and we kind of coin it as Carfax for your home. We're able to pull all this data set and make you understand potential areas of risk. We also can make recommendations on what types of specific inspections you need for that home. So everything I've talked to you about this morning has been around your general home inspection. But as I mentioned, since a home inspector is more of a generalist, there's a lot of specialized inspections that you may follow up on to be able to fully understand the risk. So those might be a foundation or a sewer, radon, or a specialized roof inspection. We actually can make recommendations based off that permit data to say, hey, right off the bat, let's get a sewer scope because the house has a dated sewer system. And then finally, it allows us to send that data to your inspector. And now your inspector has that permit level data when they're going into the house. So if they know that the house may have an electrical system issue, they can focus more energy on the electrical system versus just being a generalist and looking for potential issues. So outside of that, obviously when you're choosing an inspector, make sure you check reviews and make sure you ask to see a sample report. A lot of times buyers will just go with the first person they find, because if you think about the typical real estate transaction, it's very fast paced, right? You get a house under agreement and you've only got a couple days to get an inspector in there and understand the results. But don't rush the selection process. You want to make sure that you find a high quality inspector that's going to give you a strong report so you can really understand the risk. Because when you think about it, if you're spending $800,000 on a house, you don't really want to skimp out on the inspection. Like spending an extra $100 to get a good inspector is well worth your investment. The second thing you should do is, and obviously with COVID, this is a bit more complex, but you know, there's policies in place in every state that allows for this. But make sure, if you can, please attend your inspection. And there's a couple reasons for this. One, it's a really easy way to learn more about your house because you have a professional in your house that can point out things. But you can also have a conversation with your inspector and get more than just a report. So if you can make it work in your schedule, prioritize attending your inspection, even if your agent can't make it, because it's an opportunity for you to educate yourself and get more insight and help you feel more comfortable and confident about the decision to buy the home. And then finally, once you get that report back, do the due diligence and get repair estimates. There's a couple reasons for this. One, obviously, it's going to help you quantify the risk of the home and actually make it a quantitative aspect versus a qualitative aspect. But then two, it gives you much stronger negotiation power, right? So if you imagine going back to the seller and saying, I want a $10,000 reduction, but you really don't give any rationale why, you know, as a seller, they're going to sit back and say, no, I'm not going to give you any money on this. Versus if you go and say, look, I want $10,000 because here's 3 quotes, and this is the price due to the issue, it makes you come across much more polished and it makes your offer seem much more reasonable. So definitely prioritize getting your repair estimates either through leveraging the Inspectify platform or working with contractors to review the inspection report, because it helps you be that much more leveraged in the process. And for that's kind of my part. I can turn it over to Jin now to talk through some common renovations.
All right, thanks for Josh. You cover the inspection very well, and I have nothing much to say. But inspector is the system that it will find the problem for your house. As a general contractor, I'm here to talk about. We are here to repair the issues or repair the problems. So for inspection, usually come with 3 pieces. One is the termite report, and one is the property report, and one is the roof report. There's a lot of items will be in the report once once you order the inspection. And definitely it's a good idea, especially when you're selling the property, to order an inspection for your property so we can find those problems. As a contractor, we often go over the report with the homeowner or the agents, help them sell the property, and go through each problem with the agent or homeowners, tell them what's going on with the property. But mainly there's common issues for the property will be the termite section 1 items, which I call it it's a must fix items. It usually located on the section so termite section 1 report. So it's a section 1 because it's a high risk items. It can cause future damage or prevent future problems for your property. So that's why you have to fix them right away once you find them. Usually those items are dry rot, past leaks, or fungus located in your foundation or roof or anywhere. So we need to find them, locate them on the report, and repair them. Other than that, the main problem will be kitchen renovation, bathroom renovation, flooring or interior painting. Whether you purchase a home or buying a home, many homeowners wanted to do those renovations to turn around their home nicely so they can live in right away. So definitely to feel free to contact us if you need any of those renovations. We can help you with it, and then we can also help you with fixing the termite or inspection report items to correct to bring the house to a healthy condition for you to sell or live in with. So that's all I wanted to say. And Echo, I'm going to hand over to you. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, Josh and Jing, for covering the inspection and repairing part. So before let's jump into the Q&A session, I would like to circle back and do a little bit an introduction about Eano. So as Jing just mentioned, we do repairing, we do renovations, and we work with professional construction teams over the Bay Area and also beyond Los Angeles, Great Los Angeles. So contact us if you are interested, or if you just finished an inspection and there are something that need to be repaired or renovated. Please go to eano.co if you want to learn more. And also there are free consultation and estimates. So contact us. And it's Josh's turn.
Cool. So if I may do one final plug for Inspectify, what our angle is and what we pitch to our customers is one, we're much more proactive in the inspection process. As I mentioned, we have the pre-inspect tool that allows you to pull this building and permit level data that can identify issues like unpermitted work or dated electrical and plumbing, and this makes it a much more proactive approach to inspections. Also, we advertise best value. We allow you to see pricing, availability, and reviews instantly from multiple inspectors. So this idea of making sure you get the best value for your dollar, we enable that through our platform. So you can see reviews and pricing and can book an inspection in a matter of seconds. And then the third one is really the core of the company, is trying to be more insightful and more empowerment along this home buying and ownership journey. And we strive ourselves on providing a lot more information than just a static PDF. We give you repair estimates, we give you severity of issues, as well as recommendations on next steps to really make you feel more comfortable and more empowered about the purchase of your home, so we can minimize any buyer's remorse.
Okay, so let's go to the Q&A session. And I've seen a lot of questions on the Q&A board. And please post your questions to the Q&A board so we'll be able to answer them live. And the first question is there any question that I should ask during the inspection? Can I ask the inspector questions after the inspection? Josh, do you want to take that?
Yeah. So I'll ask the second one first. You can definitely ask questions after the inspection. You can always reach out to your inspector, especially if you pick a highly reviewed inspector. They're going to help you out throughout the entire process. And a lot of times you can go there after you move in to ask questions. If you do decide to go through Inspectify, obviously we have our team here that can answer questions as well. In terms of specific questions, I think it really depends on the home itself. If if you know of potential issues beforehand, so if the seller disclosed that there was a roof leak 5 years ago, I think it'd be worth asking the inspector, say, hey, like, this was disclosed, like anything you saw in the attic, anything else that we should be worried about, right? But at the end of the day, like the inspector has a very standard, it's actually, regulated by the state, checklist of items that they're going to look at. So it's not like you need to tell them how to do their job, but if there are specific things you want them to double click on or look for more insight, it's definitely worth asking those questions both during the inspection, but also afterwards as well.
Thanks, Josh. And there's someone asked, what's the cost for hiring an inspector? I know that you mentioned it varies, but could you please give a range?
Yeah. So, this is something that's really interesting that we've seen since starting Inspectify is the market's very opaque. So you'll see a pretty broad distribution of pricing. We've seen on average a 36% range from low to high. So it's definitely worth shopping around because inspectors will charge a lot of different pricing. But in the Bay Area, the average is in the high 400s, low 500s. It just depends on the geo and the location. But in the U.S., the benchmark that we use is 381 is kind of the standard you should expect to pay for a general home inspection.
Thanks. Can you elaborate on how to interview and pick an inspector and how to tell if they're professional or not? I also noticed that we've seen inquiries that asking, can we provide a GC to take a look at the house before buying it? Can both of you answer some of this question?
Yeah, for GC, no, we don't do inspections. Professionals do the inspection. Again, inspector is looking for the problems. We are here to fix the problem. So we can only follow the report and then locate the problem and then do a fix. But yeah, the professional is here. So Josh can tell you about the inspection. Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of how to interview, reviews, online reviews are pretty prevalent in the inspection space. So definitely invest into that. And I think the one thing you'll notice is there's a fair amount of inspectors in an area as well. So you usually have the decent amount of choice. The one complexity that's going to happen is timeline, right? So a lot of times you only have a couple days to get an inspector in. So even the best inspector may be booked out a week and you just can't use the best inspector. So, obviously you want to do your due diligence on reviews. You want to make sure you read a sample report. That's one that we always, and not that we expect you to spend hours reading the report, but if they can't provide you a good report, that's usually a red flag. If they're not willing to share that, because any good inspector should have an example of what it should look like. And that will help you understand like how thorough they are as well, right? If you see a report and there's no issues called out, are they actually that thorough as an inspector? The other thing that we always say with some caution is, you're probably gonna get a list of recommendations from your real estate agent on an inspector, and most part that will work out, but always make sure you do your due diligence as well. Just because sometimes there could be a conflict of interest between the agent and the inspector. So make sure that you spend the time to read the reviews at a bare minimum, look at a sample report. Best case, if you have time, jump on a phone call with the inspector and just make sure they come across as professional.
Well, thanks. So my personal question is, do I need to hire multiple inspectors to do an inspection and also have some like contractors to read the inspection report just to be sure that nothing's there for my new home?
Yeah, this is a great question. We get this a lot. If you go to Inspectify, you can actually book multiple inspections all at the same time. And typically our team talks a buyer back and say, let's start with the general inspection, because what a general is going to do is identify, again, in terms of a high level, identify all the potential issues. And if there's something major that comes up that's in a specialized area, that's when you'll want to bring in a specialized inspection, right? So if the general inspector identifies, a couple horizontal cracks in the foundation, that's a big red flag. It means the house might be still settling. So you want to bring in a foundation inspector to really understand that. And typically those inspectors actually are contractors as well. So they're going to give you a quote to fix that specific issue because it is so specialized. There are some inspections you can start out and do right away, like I think Jen mentioned in terms of termite inspections. Like in California, you always want to do a termite inspection, especially if it's part of if it's part of a homeowners association. You actually are required to by law to do it. So there are some inspections you should do right at the get, but these specialized ones, it's always good to start with the general and then identify the results and then follow up with additional if needed.
Okay, so let's go to the next. Should I waive the inspection contingency?
We always recommend not doing this. There are some caveats, like we know in some markets it's very competitive, right? And by waiving the inspection contingency, it gives you a potential advantage in getting your offer accepted. What I always recommend, and this is very common in markets like Seattle, is you can do a pre-inspection. And this is actually, you pay for an inspection before you put an offer in. So at least you know at a high level if there's any issues and you can adjust the price. But the idea of waiving an inspection contingency is very risky. So we always recommend having an inspection in some form. If you absolutely need to waive it, make sure you do an inspection. At a bare minimum, do one before you move in, because there might be some safety things that you would miss out on. And even though you might have to spend some more money, you can at least get the safety issues repaired before you move in.
Okay, so let's have another question. I'm looking to sell my house and I see that it might need some renovation. Is there a recommended timeline for inspection and renovation before listing?
Yeah, I mean, I can start with this one, and Jen, maybe you can jump on the renovation side.
Yeah.
You know, we're always a big fan of doing inspections before you put the house in the market. It's just much more efficient for the transaction. This is why the Bay Area, you see this so common, because when you think about it, when you have an inspection contingency, every single transaction is negotiated twice. Once when you get the house under agreement, and the second time once you do the inspection contingency. So if you as a seller can just do the inspection, identify the issues, and disclose that up front, it's a much better experience for everybody involved. So we always recommend doing it up front, and then I'll let Jen take in terms of the repair side.
Totally agree with your with your thoughts. So if you can get an inspection done before selling the property or before renovations, so it's easier for a contractor to locate those problems. So just say if you wanted to do your kitchen remodel or bathroom remodel, all you're doing is the remodeling or renovation on the surface, right? But if you have a report and you can point out some, deeper problems, we can fix, after we open the wall, it's easier for us to fix the problem right away. So that's why it's a good idea to get the inspection report before you're doing renovations.
And how long would it take for like general, those renovation items that you just mentioned?
Yeah, I guess the inspection will take only 1 day or two to complete. And then it really depends on what kind of problem you have. It could be, for section 1, termite items usually take about 2 days, 3 days, most can complete most of the termite issue. But if you do want to renovate your home, kitchen room, renovation or bathroom renovation, that would take a little bit longer, probably like a month or a month and a half to complete bathroom and kitchen. Yeah.
Okay. So we have Snow Dome here. Ask, how long does home inspection work for new construction? And can we get an independent review even if builder gives a report?
Yeah, so for new construction, we call a home inspection a blue tape inspection. And what we mean by that is typically you'll have the home inspector come in right before you're ready to close, and you'll usually get a roll of blue tape. You can go and mark the potential areas that are issued, and then the builder will go and fix those. So it's really important to do an inspection for a new construction, because even though it's a brand new house and that might make you think that everything is perfect, the nice thing about buying an old construction house is it's already had all the major issues. It's just like a car, right? Like all the potential issues have already been fixed. New construction, there might be issues that are there. So it's really important to do that home inspection before you close. And then on top of that, most new construction homes come with a 1-year warranty that will cover everything in the house. So we always recommend to our customers to do an 11-month inspection, where you basically bring the inspector back in, they're going to look and see if there's any potential issues, and then you can get that work covered under your warranty. So we actually recommend 2 inspections for new construction because it helps you cover the risk and help cover some of the costs.
Okay, we also have a question from Leon. Do you offer repair estimates along the home inspection report?
Yes, that's part of our platform. We'll actually take the data from the inspection report and give you repair estimates based off the local zip code of every issue found, purely for negotiation. And then we're also building out here in the next couple months where you actually get connected with contractors and GCs to actually do the work as well. But part of our platform now is providing repair estimates on every issue found.
And can we follow the inspector around while they're inspecting? I know we could, right?
Yeah, you definitely can. My only caveat to this is you want the inspector to be very focused on what they're doing. So if you're following them around and asking them lots of questions, they're going to get distracted and they may miss something. So what we always recommend to our clients is wait until the end. The inspector will come through and do a debrief and walk through everything with you. That way you allow the inspector to be as focused on as possible on looking for issues versus following them around and asking questions. Most inspectors will be very professional and will answer your questions, but it's in your best interest to allow them to focus and do their job and wait until the end, and you can ask all their specific questions, and inspectors are more than happy to walk you through the house and call out what they saw.
Okay, and Wilson asks, what is the difference between Eano and a standard general contractor? How lower the pricing can be achieved? Jing?
Well, the Eano is a renovation company, so we have 30+ crews that are working with us. So we pretty much are a genuine contractor. Yeah, so you can, call us and we can send a professional to go over, the inspection report or item with you and look and give you a price on the repairs. So regards to the price, we will see. I don't get this question how to lower pricing with the chief. So it really depends on how many items there you're fixing on the properties. Maybe we can reduce some price by fixing, if your house has a lot of problems, definitely they will be cheaper to do everything. But if you only do a few items, we're gonna go there one trip and then fix a few items, the price is gonna be a little higher. I guess I can answer it that way.
Yep, I can also add some. So the big difference between Eano and other GC is we also have an app, which is also called Eano, and in the app you can communicate, have text messages between your GC and your project manager, and you can also access the material list that we recommend. We actually will generate a material list for you, customized. So you'll be able to choose the materials and take it as a reference and buy the materials and basically manage your renovation projects within the app. And that in that way, you don't have those communication gaps with the GCs. And we also partner with a lot of vendors. So you may have discounted price if you choose to work with Eano and buy those materials from us. So totally different experience, renovation experience. We are trying our best to provide a hassle-free renovation experience for our customers. So you may send an email to project@eano.co if you have further questions. Awesome. So there's another question, I think is for Jing. How much is the cost for foundation?
It really depends on what kind of problem on your foundation. It could be cheaper or it could be more expensive. I had an experience on one of foundation issue. They have some minor crack under the foundation. So that would be usually we do epoxy, and then so that would be like a few $1,000s only. But if you have a piers, broken, or we have to resupport, or we have to jack up the house, and that's a lot more than a few thousands, but probably gonna be 10,000 plus. So it really depends on what kind of problem you have on your foundation. Yeah.
So how long would the repairing take? I think we've seen a question like that.
The repair and take for what, foundation or for everything?
Everything.
Well, it's also depends what kind of items there you're looking at to repair. For a bigger renovation, as a kitchen or bathroom renovations, then that will be plumbing, electrical, face work involved. So that's going to take longer. And if you're getting an inspection, right, then that will take up to a month or 2 months to complete everything. But if you just want to fix, inspection items, that could take much less time than repairing or redo a whole kitchen or bathroom.
Well, so how to identify the foundation issues, such as the foundation crack is caused by the foundation or the wall crack is caused by the foundation?
Yeah. Josh, you want to answer this question?
You want to take that one? Okay. So foundations are quite complex. So it really depends. And this is why you want to get a specialist in to take a look at it. The one rule of thumb that we like to tell folks is if you think about cracks, vertical cracks are not that big of an issue. The big issue with vertical cracks is if they get big enough, you'll get water intrusion into the foundation, which will cause issues with settling. What you really want to watch out for horizontal cracks. And because horizontal cracks mean that the foundation is staying put and the house is sliding. So horizontal cracks are big areas of risk that you want to look for. In terms of cracks in the interior walls, it really depends on the age of the house. If you have a newer house and you're seeing cracks in the drywall, that's a big red flag. Because newer houses shouldn't be settling that much, and drywall is usually a bit more flexible. Versus if you're buying a house that's built in the early 1900s, even the 1800s, and it's got plaster does not handle flex that well. So you'll see cracks all the time. So I wouldn't be afraid if you have an older house that's got some cracks, versus if it's a newer house, there's more risk there. So.
Yeah, I also want to add up is I see a lot of protection on the foundation, so that's why it happens a lot on the foundation is sinking, and then so it becomes an issue has a lot of cracks. So you may want to do a French drain to protect your house, to let the water drain away from your house, or don't plant any big plants around the house to get the water sucking your foundation to prevent that future problem happen. So that's some tips that you can help to prevent this future issue. Yeah.
Can you also elaborate on the cost on that for that?
Cost of foundation?
Yeah, to prevent the issues what you just mentioned.
Oh, how much? Well, to do a French drain, that will cost about 5,000 to 10,000, depends how big is the property and how much trenching that has to be done. And you can also do cement around your house just to make sure the water drains away from your house. So it really depends on what you want to do to prevent to get protection for your house. But it's definitely worth to do something like that. To think about it, once your foundation has a problem, then you take a lot of money to fix. It could be cost you 20,000 plus, right? Yeah. So if you can get some protection, that will be much better for later on. Yes.
How long would it normally take for those type of projects?
For French drain, that will take about 2 weeks. For cement, a similar amount of time, but the price will be different. Yeah.
Okay. We have another question. What's the, I think that's discrepancy between the inspection estimation fixed cost compared to the final quote?
This is a great question. So we provide a range. So like for a water heater, for example, we'll say it's going to cost between $1,200 and $1,800 because it does vary based off what type of make and model you use, as well as a little bit more complexities that we just won't know. But I will say the estimates that we provide on our inspection reports are more for negotiations and to give you an idea of the total quantifiable risk. But you'll still want to get a firm quote if you actually want to do the work. And there are some things that we actually can't estimate, right? So if there's an issue in the foundation, we're going to ask you to get a foundation quote because it's just much more complex. But 90% of the things being called out in the inspection report are pretty quantifiable, and we can provide an estimate around that. And we give a range just so you can have an expectation on the min and the max of what you should expect to pay.
Great, thanks, Josh. Seth asked, does the inspection report format vary between inspectors? Do you have a standard one?
Yeah, it definitely varies. And this is what's the challenge in the industry is it's extremely fragmented. There's 40,000 inspectors in the US. They all are predominantly sole proprietors and they each have their own format and template for inspections. So it's really hard to get consistency. And that's part of what we drive at Inspectify is every single report looks the same because we basically extract all the deficiency level data out of the report and present that as a web app. So it's always consistent no matter which inspector you use. But you will see a pretty broad variance between different inspectors in terms of the overall template.
Okay, and do you provide specialized inspection like plumbing? I think you do, right?
Yeah. So plumbing, the one specialized one we'll do in there is a sewer scope. So if you think about the scope of a home inspector, they're going to look at the drain lines, they're going to look at the supply lines. They're not going to look at basically the sewer line that goes from the house to the street. And that's what is called a sewer scope or a sewer lateral inspection. So that's something you want to spend, especially if it's an older house and there's no permits to show an updated sewer system. And that's one of the recommendations we can make through our platform if it's an older house to do that sewer scope.
Great. Is Eano a marketplace or a GC company that will subcontract or have your own construction team? I can cover this. We are not a marketplace. Jim can add some more. We are not a marketplace. We are a construction company, and we work with multiple professional construction teams. And before working with them, we actually do a lot of we review them and we have conversation. We actually work with them to see if they are qualified to be worked with. And so yeah, we have our own construction teams. We have about 18 teams in the Bay Area and also Los Angeles. So you'll be able to work with us if you live within the area. Jane, do you want to add some?
Yeah, we have a construction team in house and we have architectural plan people in house as well. So we are GC team. We are GC team. We are also a platform. We can connect with the owner with the other contractors as well. So sometimes we use a sub for a big project as well. So we're both and we can do like pretty much a lot of stuff happening in the construction world. Yeah.
Yep, we also have some like bathroom renovation package, kitchen renovation package, or if you want to do flooring, we can also connect you with the vendors to have some high quality discounted materials. Yeah.
So the next question will be, do we do popcorn seating? Yes, we do popcorn seating.
Yep, and do you have a estimate on that?
Well, that depends on how many.
On the square feet.
Yeah, square footage of seatings. Yeah. So we can, if you're interested, you can just contact us. We can send somebody go there to give you a quote if you want. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's this is more construction related question. How much does an architectural drawing cost for a detached ADU?
Yeah, today we're not talking about ADUs, but we can quickly cover that. So architectural drawing for 800 square feet ADU, I think it's roughly about $10,000 for the architectural design, planning, Title 24, all this requirement from the city. I guess that's rough quote. For detail, we really have to contact us so we can give you detailed information.
Yeah, contact us.
Yeah, from our architectural crew, they can give you an accurate estimate. Yeah.
Yep, you may scan the QR code on the screen to contact us, go to our website, or just simply send an email to us. The email address is below, and you may also reach out to Inspectify by scanning the QR code on the screen. Okay, and there's a question from Catherine. My house is on the hillside and there are some big cracks in the backyard. Will it affect the house foundation? Do I still need to hire inspection to come to check, or have a contractor came to check and fix it? How much will it cost normally? It's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, when you say big cracks in the backyard, I'm not sure if I fully understand what that is, but I think this is definitely worth getting a I probably want to go with a home inspector. I'd probably just get a foundation specialist to come take a look at this, because typically they'll basically allow you to credit the cost of the bid towards the work as well. If you were selling the house and you had this with other things, I would definitely recommend doing the home inspection, but this might just be an application, just getting a foundation specialist.
Okay. There's a question from John. What problem? What's the? There a problem? Well, what problem will bank not offer a loan? Foundation issue, window broken, a water ceiling. So it's a question about.
Yeah, so it also depends on the type of loan. So if you're doing an FHA loan, their appraisals have much stricter guidelines. So there's simple things like having handrails and having some safety things in place. But in terms of a general statement, the big thing is heating and cooling. You've got to make sure that the house has a working heating and cooling system for it to be able to finance. Foundation issues, unless it's a major problem, the house is settling and falling off the hill, I really wouldn't worry about that. The broken window may depend on your lender, may cause an issue. If there's an active water leak, that will probably cause an issue as well. But it's very loan specific as well as your mortgager specific. So definitely a question I would ask your lender as you're going through the process.
Yep, so we have the last question from John. Will it offer free to check with city if my house qualified for ADU?
Well, for this question, we can have our architect to take a look from the Google first to see your setback rules and to give you a general idea if you can fit in your ADU size. It's also depending on how many square feet that you wanted to build in your ADUs, right? So we have to put those setback rules to figure out if you can fit in first, and then we can get into the city to check anything wrong with that condition. So if you want more information, contact with us so we can get you to contact with one of our specialists on the city side so they can help you with it.
Yep. Yeah, we do offer free consultation, so feel free to contact us, and we may give you some advices. And also, if you have the floor plan, you may also send it to us via email, and we'll see what we can provide you.
Yeah.
On that. Yep. So we finished the questions, and we're running out of time. It's getting to 12 p.m. So we'll be ending this webinar. And thank you, Jing and Josh, for presenting at the webinar. And if you have more questions, feel free to scan the code or send an email to the email addresses below. And we'll also send the presentation file to your email later next week. So if you have any question, feel free to contact us. And Josh.
Thank you.
Well, thank you everyone for attending the webinar.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you.